thought I'd come out here and scout for turkeys, but we might have more of a dusting than I figured. It's hailing! Yeah, I don't think we're gonna find any turkeys up here, particularly not today. Alright, I'm gonna have to turn around. This is getting sketchy. Well, I was in the area and I thought I would get a quick scout in. I always kind of pay attention to what's in the area wherever you happen to be hunting. Last elk season, I found a ton of turkey sign around this general area, which is why I'm here. But I'm way down low. You just saw the snow line. We are right at about the snow line. There's a lot of green out. So I'm pretty sure that this snow is all fresh. Maybe I'll turn this video into an introductory to turkey hunting type of thing. So, turkey hunting is one of those things where, and I'm not a pro, so, but I'll tell you what I know. And this is all just off the cuff, one take. Turkey hunting is one of those things where you really have to understand what you're hunting. You really have to understand the bird. Its life cycle, its habits, its habitat. I guess you could say like elk. And they do have some, and turkey hunting does have some similarities with elk. The females will be off on their own group for most of the year. The males will be off on their own group most of the year. They only intermingle during their rutting season, which is called the strut. Rut. Now, their rut begins early to mid-April. And the males, most of the year, their heads will be white, relatively bald. But once they start coming into their rutting season, their heads and their necks get all engorged with blood, and they get hot, and they're looking for hens. And like elk, they'll assemble their own little harem. And once they've assembled their harem, they're in a phase that's called henned up. Now, in nature, when a turkey, a tom gobbles, the hen comes to the tom. He gobbles as if to say the party's over here. The hen comes to him, and they do their thing. And that's what makes turkey hunting hard, is that you're trying to call the tom to get him to come to you. So you're going against nature on that one. So I would say sometime late April, they're mating. They've been mating, probably. I've only hunted in that time frame once. Most time I've hunted in May. Now, once you get to the beginning of May, first week or two of May is the most important of the entire month. Because you got a month, but the first 2 weeks are the most important. As time goes on, it gets harder and harder. So, to get one. Now, there's two ways you can go about it. You can, if you have an idea of where they're roosting, you can get up at dark 30 and go sit on their roost. Don't get too close. They will fly at night. I've made that mistake. They will fly in the dark if you spook them. Or you can do what's called running and gunning. And that's where I'm kind of falling at right now, is running and gunning. I've had the most luck on that one. I'll only sit on a roost if I know where they are, and that's very rare. Now, as roosting goes, turkeys can fly quite well, but from everything that I've seen and heard, what they prefer is to roost somewhere where they can glide into the tree and glide out of the tree. So if you're sitting up on the roost area, either in the evening or the morning, you got to keep that in mind. It's like if they want to glide in the tree, where are they going to? They're going to come from the top of the ridge and glide in the tree, or they're going to come from the bottom. In the evening, they'll probably come from the top of the ridge and glide in. Their daily habits, they'll fly. Those that fly down, they roost up in the trees, and it's usually it'll be a cottonwood or an old pine. And on that note, habitat-wise, they like lots of green shoots, wildflowers, and fresh running water. If you can get all that in one area, plus some roosts within a 2-mile radius, they can range out for a couple miles. So in the morning, they'll fly down, they'll assemble, and then they go walking off and they do their thing. They have and you can pattern them. Just like an elk, you can pattern their daily routines. And you can have an idea of when they'll fly down, and you can get a pretty good idea when they fly back to the roost. So the reason why the first couple weeks are the most important is because at some point, early May, the gobblers will be henned up, but at around anywhere between 9 to 11 o'clock in the morning, the hens will leave the tom to go sit on their eggs. Because you got to remember, they started mating in April. By early May, maybe even to the end of the second week of May, it varies every year, but they'll go off and they'll go sit on their eggs to incubate them, and they'll make their nests on the ground. I've bumped a hen on the ground once. But during that time, where they leave the toms to maybe, I don't know, late afternoon, early evening, they'll leave the toms to go nest. And during that time, the gobbler is left alone. And during that time, he's going to go look for the hen he hasn't got yet. And that's where you come in. Now, I'm getting all out of order here. I'm not making an outline or anything like this. Now, when you're actively looking for them, the thing you got to remember is that they can't smell you, but they can see and hear you really well. If you had a hunt where you had to go full ninja, turkey hunting is it. Their eyes are like a pair of 8-power binoculars, and they can see in ultraviolet. And they can hear really well. One time movement is what will give you away big time. Movement. I remember one year I was just sitting there and it was a hen that came in and I was just really frustrated. So I just kind of made like a little pistol sound or gesture. I just sitting there and I went, pow. That hen saw that. And when they see it, when they're alert, you'll know it because their head will pop straight up and they'll crane around and it'll look like a periscope almost. So hens have left the tom and you're out running and gunning. And I know Ray, this will be his preferred method to hunt because he doesn't like getting up early in the morning. So, and I guess this comes in the calling here. Now, you don't have to get a specialized turkey rig like this is made. And I made my own turkey rig because once you really get into turkey hunting, you'll find yourself in all kinds of weird positions and crawling under bushes and setting up. You're going to be a lot closer to the ground than you ever were. And it just having an elk hunting backpack on you can kind of get in the way sometimes. That's not to say you can't use them. A lot of people do. And while I'm on that note, bone up on your DEET and your, what is it, Permethrin? Spray your hunting clothes for tick repellent. Every year is different on the ticks, but ticks are a thing to worry about, especially if you're bringing your kids out. You don't want to have them Lyme disease that early in life. Bone up on that DEET. I just in one setup one time a few years ago, I picked 3 ticks off my clothing. In another year, I didn't have any ticks. So every year is different. So make sure you don't have any exposed skin. Wear gaiters, long sleeve shirt. Just suit up as much as you can to keep them ticks from getting on you. Anyway, I know I'm calling. Oh, let's see. Now there's 3 types of calls. If you get one call, I get a box call. Now, the thing about a box call is it's one piece. You can do all the calls with it. This one, a box call will carry the farthest. So you're out running and gunning. What you want to do when you first start calling is you want to do a soft call. And your bread and butter is going to be a yelp. There's 3 types of turkey calls. There's basic calls. There's a yelp, a cluck, and a purr. So a yelp is kind of like that. A cluck is kind of like and a purr is like a content call, like I'm just over here feeding, chilling out type of thing. I'm not very good with box calls, honestly. So that's a basic purr. I need to practice. Haven't in a while. Okay, so you're out running and gunning. You start your soft call first. Cadence is important. A tom will have a slower cadence in their yelp than a hen. So a hen will be a little faster. Okay. Start with a soft call, wherever you are. And then if you're up on the ridgebacks, is where you want to be because you're trying to locate a bird. Once you do a soft call, so you don't blow their ears out if there happens to be one nearby, and they'll slip in on you. Sometimes they won't be making any noise at all. That's when you open up with a really loud call. Now, when you're up on the ridgeback, what I'll do a lot is I'll really crank it. After I've done some soft calling, I'll put it above my head and I'll just start doing this all around, try to get that call out in the widest area as I can. And then once you call, you stop and you listen for a few minutes. What you're listening for is an acknowledgement. If the tom hears you and acknowledges you, then he might come to you, which is very likely the case in this scenario. Now, once he's coming to you, and that's another thing is if he acknowledges you, do not call again until you're set up to kill him. So if you hear him off in some distance, maybe meet him halfway. Because if he has to work too hard, he's probably not going to come. So if you hear him way off there, walk what you think might be halfway to where you thought you heard him, and set up on him. Now, setup is everything. Because you got to remember, you got a shotgun, and you're swinging like this way. You can only swing so far, so your arc is like this. And you want to position yourself to where he comes in on your arc swing, because you can't move that much when he comes in. In fact, you have to really pick your spots when he moves. When you move, like if you can't move until he gets behind a tree or something like that. If you're in plain sight, you cannot move. So you have to wait until his line of sight is obstructed for any reason, even if it's his own fan. But you have to set up on him. Set up is key. If you can, pick a spot where you have lots of structure and shade, concealment. And that's when some of these other calls come into play. Now, once he's coming in, you set up on him, right? Then call. Do not call until you're set up on him. And if he comes in, or if you hear him, if he comes in, he could come in from behind you for all you know. You might think he comes in from one direction, but it turns out he's circled around and come in behind you, and that's happened to me a lot. But once you got a bird, or think you got a bird coming in, that's when you want to do some soft calling, some purrs, maybe a cluck, but mainly purrs. You want to get him within shotgun range. Watch some of my other turkey hunting videos. Now, here's where I'm going to mention some of the other calls that I have. I actually don't like using a box call. I like using a slate call most of the time. Now, I wouldn't get into too far in this until you're actually really into turkey hunting. The reason why you carry multiple calls is because a tom doesn't always respond to one call, but maybe he'll respond to another. It has to do with the pitch and the tone of the call. Now, with a call like this, you change the striker, you change the tone. So I'll try a yelp on this slate call. Versus changing the striker. Let's see how this one sounds. See the difference? Let's try a different striker. I think this one's similar to another one I just used, though. See, that sounds very different from the box call. Let's see here. Now, there are different slate calls, too. These are called pot and peg calls. I prefer slate call. This one is a copper and glass. This one will sound different too. Copper on this striker and then glass on the backside. Actually, that one's not doing so well. Which leaves a point on a lot of these friction calls. Don't touch the surface. You get your finger, your oils from your skin on whatever on them, and it messes them up. There are reed calls too. I personally don't like using them because I'm a heavy mouth breather. Let's see. Shiny on your gear. Make sure that anything shiny is tucked away, like a Garmin inReach. Put it somewhere where it's out of sight. Your watch, maybe rotate that inside your wristband. Anything shiny you don't want out. Like I said, go full ninja. I like using face masks. You could go with the whole face paint route. You could even not do that at all. It's not like you have to cover your face to kill a turkey, but every little bit helps. Let me see. I'm starting to lose my train of thought here. We're already in 20 minutes. Back to gear again. If you use your elk hunting backpack, get something for a seat because you might end up sitting down in some mud. Glassing pad will work. And that brings me back to running and gunning. You know, you could walk around all afternoon and not sit in one spot for too long. To me, that's a more fun way to hunt. I am completely lost my train of thought here. Shotguns. Shotgun shells. So this one here, I think Marcy killed her turkey the year before last with this box right here. This is a 3-inch number 5. And if you want to get fancy, this here is a 3.5-inch to shot blend. You can't buy these anymore. I think I got one out of the box, but this is a 5, 6, and 7 shot blend. And I would not recommend. Most people aren't running 3.5-inch shells. I am. You'll get a little extra range out of it. Little bit extra range. I wouldn't shoot any more than, like, say 50, 55 yards with this. That's max range. This maybe 40. And this is 3.5-inch shell. Where is my other one now? Kids, I highly recommend not doing a 12 gauge with a kid. You'll traumatize them for life. So here's a 20 gauge. This is a cheap box. This is a cheap loading. This is a Fiocchi, I think. Yeah, it's Fiocchi. 3-inch shell, number 5 shot. So we got that. This is cheap stuff. I bought a box of each. I have to pattern our 20 gauge, but a little bit smaller. 3-inch shell. Not as punishing. And on that note, on best recoil you're going to get is a 20 gauge semi-auto, not a pump. But they are also a lot more money. So if your kid is recoil sensitive, mine I'm sure is, you're going to have to spend some money on on that. Otherwise, get a pump. Dang box. All right, I don't know what else to say. If you have any specific questions, let me know. And I guess we'll see you around.